It all started with a stupid pre-wedding party that spiraled out of control faster than I could have ever imagined. My name's Olivia, and this is the story of how I managed to destroy my relationship, hurt the man I loved, and lose myself in the process. "Come on, Olivia, it's your last night of freedom," my best friend Mia shouted over the pulsing music. The lights in the club were flashing, casting multicolored shadows across the faces of our friends. I could feel the bass thumping in my chest, matching the erratic beating of my heart. I laughed, throwing my head back as I downed another shot. The alcohol burned its way down my throat, warming me from the inside out. Freedom. I'm getting married, not going to prison. But even as the words left my mouth, I felt a twinge of something. Doubt? Fear? I pushed it aside, focusing instead on the warmth of the tequila and the excited faces of my friends. "Where's Nathan?" I asked, scanning the crowd for my fiancée. We decided to have a joint bachelor-bachelorette party, thinking it would be more fun to celebrate together. Now, I was starting to regret that decision. Maya rolled her eyes. Probably at the bar, being a buzzkill as usual. "Come on, let's dance." She grabbed my hand, pulling me towards the packed dance floor. As we pushed our way through the sweaty bodies, I caught a glimpse of Nathan standing at the bar, looking uncomfortable and out of place. A pang of guilt shot through me. I should go talk to him, make sure he's having fun. But then Mia was shoving another drink into my hand, and the music was swelling, and suddenly all I wanted to do was lose myself in the rhythm and forget about everything else. Hours passed in a blur of dancing, drinking, and laughter. As the night wore on, our group gravitated back towards the bar, where Nathan was still nursing the same beer he'd been holding all night. "There's the man of the hour." Mia crowed, slinging an arm around Nathan's shoulders. He stiffened, clearly uncomfortable with the physical contact. "Why so serious, Nate? It's a party." I could see the muscle in Nathan's jaw ticking, a sure sign he was trying to keep his temper in check. "I'm just not much for clubbing," he said tightly. "Oh, come on." Another of our friends, Jake, chimed in. "You've got to loosen up, man. You're about to be shackled for life." I winced at Jake's choice of words. "Hey, that's not." But Mia was already running with it. "Yeah, Nate, better enjoy your last taste of freedom while you can. Soon you'll be saying goodbye to all this." She gestured expansively at the club. "And hello to a lifetime of nagging and honeydew lists," Jake added with a laugh. I could see Nathan's knuckles turning white as he gripped his beer bottle. "Guys, knock it off," I said, but my words were slurred and lacking conviction. "What's the matter, Nate?" Maya pressed, her tone taking on a mean edge. "Can't take a joke? No wonder Olivia's always complaining about how boring you are." The words hung in the air, sharp and cutting. Nathan's eyes snapped to mine, hurt and betrayal evident in his gaze. "Nathan, I never." I started to say, but he was already pushing away from the bar. "I need some air," he muttered, shouldering his way through our group of friends. I watched him go, torn between following him and staying with my friends. The alcohol clouding my judgment made the decision for me. "They'll be fine," I told myself, turning back to the group. "He just needs a minute to cool off." But as the night wore on and Nathan didn't return, a sick feeling began to grow in the pit of my stomach. What had started as playful teasing had turned mean-spirited, and I'd done nothing to stop it. Worse, I'd participated, laughing along with jokes at Nathan's expense. "I should go find him," I said, pushing away from the bar where we'd been doing shots. "Forget about him," Maya said, grabbing my arm. "He's probably sulking somewhere. Let him be a baby if he wants to. This is your night." I hesitated, torn between my loyalty to my friends and my growing concern for Nathan. That moment of indecision would come back to haunt me. "You're right," I said finally, forcing a smile. "Let's dance." As we made our way back to the dance floor, I caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd. Ethan, Nathan's best friend and best man, was weaving his way through the throng of people. Our eyes met, and something electric passed between us. I'd always been attracted to Ethan, if I was being honest with myself. He was everything Nathan wasn't: outgoing, spontaneous, the life of the party. But I never acted on that attraction, knowing how much it would hurt Nathan. But now, with the alcohol buzzing through my veins and Nathan's absence a gnawing worry in the back of my mind, all my carefully constructed walls came crumbling down. "Ethan," I called out, waving him over. "Come dance with us." He grinned, that megawatt smile that always made my heart skip a beat. "Don't mind if I do," he said, sidling up next to me. The music pulsed around us as we moved together, our bodies getting closer and closer with each beat. I could feel the heat radiating off him, smell the intoxicating mix of his cologne and sweat. My head was spinning, whether from the alcohol or the proximity to Nathan. I couldn't tell. "Where's Nathan?" Ethan shouted over the music, his lips close to my ear. I shrugged, trying to ignore the guilt that flared up at the mention of my fiancé's name. He needed some air, I yelled back. "He'll be back soon." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. Nathan hated places like this. He was probably long gone by now, hurt and angry at how the night had turned out. I should go find him, I thought hazily. I should make sure he's okay. But then Ethan's hands were on my waist, pulling me closer, and all thoughts of Nathan faded away. We were dancing chest to chest now, our faces inches apart. I could see the flecks of gold in Ethan's brown eyes, count each of his long eyelashes. "Olivia," he murmured, his voice low and husky. "I've wanted this for so long." And then he was kissing me, his lips crushing against mine with an intensity that took my breath away. For a moment, I froze, shocked by the sudden turn of events. But then my body took over, responding to him with a passion I didn't know I possessed. We kissed like we were drowning, and the other person was air, hands roaming, bodies pressed tightly together. The world around us faded away until there was nothing but the two of us, lost in our own little bubble. Until suddenly, that bubble burst. What the fuck? The voice cut through the haze of alcohol and desire like a knife. I jerked away from Ethan, my heart pounding as I turned to face the source of that voice. Nathan stood there, his face a mask of pain and betrayal. His eyes darted between Ethan and me, disbelief warring with anger in his expression. "Nathan," I gasped, reaching out to him. "It's not. I didn't." But what could I say? It was exactly what it looked like. I'd been caught kissing his best friend on the night of our joint bachelorette party, no less. Nathan took a step back, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. "Don't," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "Don't you dare try to explain this away." Ethan stepped forward, his face pale. "Man, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen." Nathan's fist connected with Ethan's jaw before he could finish the sentence. Ethan stumbled back, more surprised than hurt, as chaos erupted around us. People were shouting, pushing to get a better view of the drama unfolding. I stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. This couldn't be real. It had to be some kind of nightmare. But the pain in Nathan's eyes as he looked at me was all too real. "We're done," he spat, his voice thick with emotion. "The wedding's off. I hope you two are very happy together." And then he was gone, pushing his way through the crowd and out of the club. I wanted to run after him, to explain, to beg for forgiveness. But my feet felt like they were encased in concrete, unable to move. "Olivia." Ethan's voice broke through my stupor. He was holding his jaw, a red mark already blooming where Nathan had hit him. "Are you okay?" I turned to look at him, feeling like I was moving in slow motion. "No," I said, my voice sounding strange and distant to my own ears. "No, I'm not okay. I think I just ruined everything." The rest of the night passed in a blur. My friends tried to comfort me, but their words fell on deaf ears. I couldn't stop replaying the look on Nathan's face when he'd seen me kissing Ethan. The hurt, the betrayal, the anger, it was seared into my memory. As the adrenaline wore off and the alcohol began to fade, the full weight of what I'd done started to sink in. I'd cheated on Nathan, with his best friend, on the night of our pre-wedding party. It was like something out of a bad soap opera, except it was my life, and I was a villain of the story. I stumbled home alone, ignoring the concerned looks from my friends. My apartment felt cold and empty without Nathan there. His things were still scattered around. A sweatshirt thrown over the back of a chair, his favorite mug in the dish rack. It was like looking at the remnants of a life that no longer existed. I collapsed onto the bed, still fully clothed, and let the tears come. They started slow at first, just a trickle down my cheeks. But soon I was sobbing, great heaving cries that shook my entire body. What had I done? How could I have thrown away everything Nathan and I had built together in one moment of drunken stupidity? As I lay there, memories of our relationship flashed through my mind. Our first date, where we'd gotten caught in a sudden rainstorm and ended up ducking into a tiny, hole-in-the-wall restaurant. The way Nathan had looked at me when I told him I loved him for the first time. The night he proposed, down on one knee in the park where we'd had our first kiss. All of it gone, destroyed by my own selfishness and stupidity. I must have fallen asleep at some point, because the next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through the windows. My head was pounding, my mouth dry and tasting like something had died in it. For a blissful moment, I couldn't remember why I felt so awful. And then it all came crashing back. Nathan, Ethan, the kiss, the fight. I groaned, burying my face in the pillow. Maybe if I just stayed here, I could pretend it was all a bad dream. But the insistent buzzing of my phone forced me back to reality. Squinting against the too bright light of the screen, I saw I had dozens of missed calls and messages. Most were from Mia and other friends, checking to see if I was okay. But there was one from Nathan, sent in the early hours of the morning. With shaking hands, I opened it. "I'm coming by later to get my things. Don't be there." Short, to the point, and devastating in its finality. I felt fresh tears welling up, but I pushed them back. I didn't deserve to cry. This was all my fault. I dragged myself out of bed, wincing at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My makeup was smeared, my hair a tangled mess. I looked as wrecked on the outside as I felt on the inside. As I went through the motions of showering and getting dressed, my mind raced. Should I try to talk to Nathan? Beg for forgiveness? Or should I respect his wishes and stay away? And what about Ethan? The thought of facing either of them made me feel physically ill. In the end, cowardice won out. I couldn't bear the thought of seeing Nathan, of watching him pack up his life and walk out the door. So I did as he asked. I left the apartment, not sure where I was going, just knowing I needed to be anywhere but there. I ended up at a small coffee shop a few blocks away, nursing a latte and trying to ignore the pitying looks from the barista who'd clearly clocked that I was in the midst of some kind of crisis. As I sat there, staring blankly at the swirls of foam in my cup, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Ethan. "Can we talk?" 2 words that sent a fresh wave of guilt and nausea rolling through me. What was there to talk about? We'd both screwed up royally, hurt the person we both claimed to care about most in the world. But some masochistic part of me needed to know why. Why had he kissed me? Why hadn't I stopped him? So I found myself typing out a reply. "Okay, where?" An hour later, I was sitting across from Ethan in a different coffee shop. One I was sure Nathan would never come to. The silence between us was thick and uncomfortable, a far cry from the easy camaraderie we'd always shared. "I'm so sorry, Olivia," Ethan finally said, his voice low and pained. "I never meant for any of this to happen." I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Yeah, well, it did happen, and now everything's fucked." Ethan winced at my words, but nodded. "I know. God, I know. I've been in love with you for years, but I never would have acted on it if I'd been sober. I respect Nathan too much for that." His confession hit me like a punch to the gut. In love with me? For years? How had I never noticed? "Why didn't you ever say anything?" I asked, even though I knew the answer. Ethan shrugged, looking miserable. "Because you were with Nathan, and he's my best friend." "Was my best friend?" He corrected himself, grimacing. I tried to get over it, to be happy for you guys, and most of the time I was. But seeing you last night, looking so beautiful and happy, I guess all those feelings just came rushing back. I shook my head, feeling a fresh wave of guilt wash over me. It doesn't matter why it happened, I said. The fact is, it did. And now Nathan's hurt, and our relationship is over, and your friendship with him is probably ruined too. I know, Ethan said quietly. I'll never forgive myself for that. Nathan's been my best friend since we were kids. I betrayed him in the worst possible way. We sat in silence for a long moment, both lost in our own thoughts and regrets. So what happens now? I finally asked, voicing the question that had been haunting me since last night. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, looking as lost as I felt. I don't know, he admitted. I want to try to talk to Nathan, to apologize, but I'm not sure he'll ever want to see me again. And you? He trailed off, but I knew what he was thinking. Was there a chance for us? Now that Nathan was out of the picture, could we explore the feelings that had led to that disastrous kiss? But even as the thought crossed my mind, I knew it was impossible. Any relationship between Ethan and me would be tainted from the start, built on the ruins of my engagement and their friendship. There is no us, Ethan, I said firmly, even as my heart ached at the words. What happened last night was a mistake. A horrible, drunken mistake that cost us both someone we care about deeply. We can't ever let something like that happen again. Ethan nodded, a mix of relief and disappointment flickering across his face. You're right, he said. Of course you're right. I guess I needed to hear you say it. Certainly, I'll continue the story. We finished our coffees in silence, the weight of our actions hanging heavy between us. As we stood to leave, Ethan reached out as if to hug me, then thought better of it and let his hand fall to his side. Take care of yourself, Olivia, he said softly. And I'm sorry. For everything. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As I watched him walk away, I felt a sense of finality settle over me. That chapter of my life, the one where Ethan was my fiancé's best friend, where we could joke and laugh without this awful tension between us, was over. I made my way back to my apartment, my feet feeling heavier with each step. As I approached the door, I saw a small pile of boxes sitting outside. My heart sank. Nathan had already been and gone. With trembling hands, I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment felt different somehow, emptier. It wasn't just the missing items. Nathan's books no longer lining the shelves, his favorite armchair gone from the corner. It was the absence of his presence that hit me hardest. I wandered from room to room, cataloguing the changes. His clothes were gone from the closet, leaving empty hangers that swayed gently in the breeze from the open window. The bathroom counter, once cluttered with both our toiletries, now held only my things. In the kitchen, I found a note propped up against the coffee maker. Olivia, I've taken my things. Anything left behind, you can do what you want with it. I'll send you the details about breaking the lease. Nathan. Short, impersonal, and devastatingly final. I crumpled the note in my fist, fresh tears spilling down my cheeks. This was real. It was really over. The next few days passed in a blur of misery and self-recrimination. I alternated between sleeping for hours on end and pacing the apartment, replaying every moment of that fateful night in my head. If only I'd gone after Nathan when he first left the club. If only I hadn't drunk so much. If only. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from friends and family, all asking what had happened, why the wedding was suddenly off. I ignored them all. How could I possibly explain what I'd done? It was Mia who finally broke through my self-imposed isolation, using her spare key to let herself into the apartment after I'd ignored her calls and texts for days. Jesus, Olivia, she said, taking the sight of me curled up on the couch in the same pajamas I'd been wearing for days. You look like hell. I laughed humorlessly. Yeah, well, that's what happens when you blow up your entire life in one night. Mia's face softened as she sat down next to me. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. I shook my head. No, it's not. I'm the one who kissed Ethan. I'm the one who cheated on Nathan. But I'm the one who kept pushing you to drink, who made all those stupid jokes about Nathan. Mia insisted. If I hadn't been such a bitch to him, maybe he wouldn't have left, and you wouldn't have. She trailed off, but I knew what she was thinking. I wouldn't have ended up in Ethan's arms. It doesn't matter, I said dully. What's done is done. Nathan's gone, the wedding's off, and I'm pretty sure I've ruined at least 3 lives in the process. Mia was quiet for a moment, then stood up decisively. Okay, that's it. You're getting up. You're taking a shower, and then we're going to figure out how to fix this. I stared at her incredulously. Fix this? Mia, there's no fixing this. Nathan saw me kissing his best friend. It's over. Maybe, Mia conceded. But you don't know that for sure until you talk to him. Really talk to him, not just exchange terse notes about lease agreements. The thought of facing Nathan made my stomach churn, but I knew Mia was right. I owed him an explanation, even if he never wanted to see me again afterward. With Mia's encouragement and occasional threats, I managed to drive myself into the shower. The hot water sluiced over me, washing away days of grime and tears. As I stood there, letting the steam envelop me, I felt something shift inside me. A tiny spark of determination kindling in the ashes of my self-pity. I stepped out of the shower feeling, if not better, at least more human. Mia had laid out clean clothes for me, jeans and a soft sweater that had always been one of Nathan's favorites. Okay, I said, running a brush through my damp hair. What's the plan? Mia grinned, looking relieved to see some life back in my eyes. First, we eat. Then, we strategize. Over takeout Chinese food, Mia helped me craft a text to Nathan. We must have written and rewritten it a dozen times before we settled on something that felt right. Nathan, I know I have no right to ask this of you, but I would like to talk. In person. If you're willing, please let me know when and where. I owe you an explanation and an apology. Olivia. My finger hovered over the send button for a long moment before I finally worked up the courage to press it. The response came faster than I expected, my phone buzzing barely a minute later. Fine. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. at the park. Don't be late. I showed Mia the message, my heart racing. He agreed. I said, my voice a mix of relief and terror. What do I do now? Maya squeezed my hand reassuringly. Now you prepare. You figure out exactly what you want to say to him. How to explain what happened without making excuses. And then tomorrow you go and you lay it all out there. I nodded, feeling a strange mix of dread and anticipation. This was my chance, maybe my only chance, to try to make things right with Nathan. The next day dawned bright and clear, a beautiful spring day that felt at odds with the turmoil in my heart. I arrived at the park early, too anxious to sit at home waiting. I spotted Nathan before he saw me. He was sitting on a bench near the pond, his posture rigid and uncomfortable. My heart clenched at the sight of him. He looked tired, shadows under his eyes that hadn't been there before. Taking a deep breath, I approached him. Nathan, I said softly. He looked up, his expression guarded. Olivia. I sat down next to him, leaving a careful distance between us. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The sound of ducks quacking and children playing in the distance filled the silence. I'm sorry, I finally blurted out. God, Nathan, I'm so sorry. What I did, there's no excuse for it. None. I betrayed you in the worst possible way, and I will regret it for the rest of my life. Nathan was quiet for a moment, his gaze fixed on the pond in front of us. Why? He asked, his voice low and pained. Why did you do it? Was I not enough for you? His question hit me like a physical blow. No, Nathan, no. You were. You are more than enough. What happened with Ethan, it wasn't about you not being enough. It was about me being stupid and drunk and selfish. I took a shaky breath, forcing myself to continue. I let things get out of hand at the party. I should have stood up for you when Mia and the others were making those stupid jokes. I should have gone after you when you left. Instead, I kept drinking, and when Ethan showed up. Nathan flinched at the mention of his former best friend's name. Did you? Have you had feelings for him this whole time? I shook my head vehemently. No, I swear. I've only ever wanted you, Nathan. What happened with Ethan was a horrible drunken mistake. It didn't mean anything. Didn't look like nothing from where I was standing, Nathan said bitterly. I closed my eyes, remembering the look of devastation on his face when he caught us. I know, and I can't take that back, no matter how much I wish I could. But Nathan, please believe me when I say it was a one-time thing. A terrible, awful mistake that I would give anything to undo. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, his hands clenched tightly in his lap. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. Do you have any idea how much you hurt me? Tears sprang to my eyes at the raw pain in his voice. I do, I said softly. Or at least I can imagine. And Nathan, if I could take that pain away, if I could go back and change what happened, I would do it in a heartbeat. But I can't. All I can do is tell you how sorry I am, and how much I wish I could make it right. Nathan finally turned to look at me, his eyes shining with unshed tears. I loved you, Olivia. I trusted you completely. And you threw that away for what? A drunken kiss with my best friend. His use of the past tense, loved, felt like a knife to my heart. I know, I whispered. I know, and I hate myself for it. I love you, Nathan. I've never stopped loving you. What I did, it wasn't about not loving you enough. It was about me being weak and stupid and not thinking about the consequences of my actions. Nathan shook his head, a bitter laugh escaping him. You know what the worst part is? I keep thinking about all the times you and Ethan were together. All those nights out, all those inside jokes, was something going the whole time. Was I just too blind to see it? No, I said firmly, reaching out to touch his arm before thinking better of it and pulling my hand back. No, Nathan. There was never anything between Ethan and me before that night. He was your best friend, and that's all he was to me. I swear it. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, his gaze once again fixed on the pond. I watched him, hardly daring to breathe, wondering what was going through his mind. I believe you, he finally said, his voice soft and tired. But Olivia, I don't know if that changes anything. You still cheated on me. With my best friend. How am I ever supposed to trust you again? His words hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd been expecting them. I don't know, I admitted, my voice breaking. I don't know if you can. But Nathan, if there's any chance at all that we could work through this, I want to try. I'll do whatever it takes. Couples therapy, total transparency, anything. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Nathan closed his eyes, a pained expression crossing his face. I don't know if I can do that, Olivia. Every time I close my eyes, I see you kissing him. How am I supposed to get past that? I felt my heart breaking all over again at the pain in his voice. I don't know, I said honestly. But if you're willing to try, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll spend every day proving to you that you can trust me again. That what happened that night was a terrible mistake that will never, ever be repeated. Nathan was quiet for a long moment, his expression unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and hesitant. I can't make any promises, Olivia. I don't know if I can ever get past this, but maybe we could try talking to someone. A therapist. See if there's anything left to salvage. Hope bloomed in my chest, fragile but persistent. Really? You'd be willing to try? Nathan nodded slowly. I still love you, Olivia. As much as I wish I didn't right now, I do. And 5 years together, that's not something I can just walk away from without at least trying to work through it. Tears spilled down my cheeks, relief and gratitude washing over me. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for being willing to try. I promise you, Nathan, I will do whatever it takes to earn back your trust. To be worthy of your love again. Nathan stood up, his expression still guarded but softer than it had been. "I'll look into some therapists," he said. "I'll let you know when I find someone." I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As Nathan turned to leave, he paused, looking back at me. "Olivia, this doesn't mean everything's okay. We have a lot of work to do, and I can't promise it will work out, but I'm willing to try." "That's all I can ask for," I said softly. "Thank you, Nathan, for giving us another chance." As I watched him walk away, I felt a glimmer of hope ignite in my chest. It wasn't much, just a tiny spark in the darkness of what I'd done. But it was something. A chance to make things right, to prove to Nathan that our love was worth fighting for. I knew the road ahead would be long and difficult. Trust, once broken, is not easily repaired. But as I sat there in the park, watching the ducks glide across the pond and feeling the warmth of the sun on my face, I made a silent vow. I would do whatever it took to earn back Nathan's trust. To be the person he deserved, the person I should have been all along. The next few weeks were a blur of intense emotions and difficult conversations. True to his word, Nathan found us a couples therapist, a kind-faced woman named Dr. Larson, who specialized in infidelity and trust issues. Our first session was awkward and tense. We sat on opposite ends of a plush couch, the physical distance between us a stark representation of the emotional chasm my actions have created. Dr. Larson asked us to talk about what had brought us there, and I found myself reliving that awful night all over again. I don't understand," Nathan said, his voice tight with pain. "We were happy, weren't we? Or was that all just a lie?" I shook my head vehemently. "No, Nathan, we were happy. I was happy. What happened? It wasn't because I was unhappy or looking for something else. It was a stupid, drunken mistake." Dr. Larson leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. "Olivia, can you dig a little deeper into what was going through your mind that night? Not to excuse your actions, but to understand them better." I closed my eyes, trying to remember the swirl of emotions and alcohol-fueled thoughts that had led to that disastrous kiss. I was feeling overwhelmed, I think. The wedding plans, the pressure of it all. And then at the party, everyone was making these jokes about marriage being the end of freedom, and I panicked, I guess. I started drinking more than I should have, trying to prove that I could still be fun and spontaneous. Nathan's jaw clenched at my words. "So you kissed Ethan to prove you were still fun?" "No," I said quickly. "God, no. It wasn't a conscious decision. Ethan was there, and he was saying all these things about how beautiful I looked, and how he'd always have feelings for me, and I got caught up in the moment. It was stupid and selfish, and the biggest mistake of my life." Dr. Larson nodded, making a note on her pad. "Nathan, how does hearing this make you feel?" Nathan was quiet for a long moment, his gaze fixed on his hands. "Angry," he finally said. "Hurt. Betrayed. I keep thinking, if Olivia could do this once, what's to stop her from doing it again? How can I ever trust her?" His words hit me like a physical blow, but I knew I deserved them. "I understand why you feel that way," I said softly. "And I know I have a lot of work to do to earn back your trust. But Nathan, I swear to you, nothing like this will ever happen again. I love you, and only you." Dr. Larson looked between us, her expression thoughtful. "Trust is like a vase," she said. "Once it's broken, you can glue it back together, but the cracks will always be visible. The question is, are you both willing to put in the work to repair those cracks? To build something new and potentially stronger from the pieces?" Nathan and I exchanged a look, and I saw a flicker of something, not forgiveness, not yet, but maybe hope, in his eyes. "I want to try," I said firmly. "I'll do whatever it takes." Nathan nodded slowly. "Me too," he said. "I can't promise it will work, but I want to try." As we left that first session, I felt a mix of exhaustion and cautious optimism. We had a long road ahead of us, but at least we were both willing to walk it. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. Nathan, and I continued our therapy sessions, slowly unpacking the events that had led to that fateful night and the aftermath. We talked about our fears, our insecurities, the little resentments that had built up over the years without either of us realizing it. Outside of therapy, we tried to rebuild our relationship from the ground up. Nathan had moved out of our apartment after that night, staying with his sister while we figured things out. We started with small steps, coffee dates where we talk about neutral topics, walks in the park where we'd reminisce about happier times. It was during one of these walks, about a month after we'd started therapy, that Nathan brought up the elephant in the room, Ethan. Have you talked to him at all? Nathan asked, his voice carefully neutral. I shook my head. No, not since that day right after everything. I told him then that what happened was a mistake and that it could never happen again. Nathan nodded, his eyes fixed on the path ahead of us. I saw him yesterday, he said quietly, at the grocery store. My heart skipped a beat. Oh? How did that go? Nathan shrugged, his shoulders tense. It was weird. Awkward. He tried to apologize again, but I couldn't deal with it. I left my cart in the middle of the aisle and walked out. I reached out hesitantly, touching his arm. To my relief, he didn't pull away. I'm sorry, I said softly. I know how much his friendship meant to you. Nathan was quiet for a long moment. You know what the worst part is? He'd finally said. I miss him. He was my best friend for most of my life. And now I can't even look at him without seeing you two together. His words felt like a knife to my heart. Nathan, I'm so sorry, I whispered. If I could take it all back. But you can't, Nathan interrupted, his voice tight with emotion. You can't take it back, and neither can he. And now we all have to live with the consequences. We walked in silence for a while after that, the weight of what we'd lost hanging heavy between us. But as we neared the end of our walk, Nathan surprised me by reaching out and taking my hand. I'm trying, Olivia, he said softly. I'm trying to forgive you, to trust you again. It's not easy, but I'm trying. Tears sprang to my eyes at his words. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for trying. I promise you, Nathan, I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you, if that's what it takes. He squeezed my hand gently, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of real hope. It wasn't easy. There were days when the weight of what I'd done felt insurmountable, when Nathan would withdraw into himself, unable to look at me without seeing that night. But there were good days too. Days when we laughed together like we used to, when I'd catch Nathan looking at me with something close to the love and trust he'd once had. Those moments are what kept me going, what made me believe that maybe, just maybe, we could come out the other side of this stronger than before. It was during one of our therapy sessions, about 6 months after that fateful night, that Dr. Larson brought up the idea of renewing our commitment to each other. You've both put in a lot of work, she said, looking between us with a smile. You've faced your fears, your insecurities, and you've chosen to fight for your relationship. Have you thought about how you want to move forward? Nathan and I exchanged a look. We talked about the future in vague terms, but we hadn't dared to make any concrete plans. I'd like to move back in, Nathan said hesitantly, if Olivia's okay with that. My heart leaped at his words. Really? I'd love that, I said, trying to keep the eagerness out of my voice. Whenever you're ready. Nathan nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. I think I'm ready. And maybe we could think about setting a new date. For the wedding. I felt my breath catch in my throat. Are you sure? I asked, hardly daring to believe what I was hearing. Nathan, if you need more time. He reached out, taking my hand in his. I'm sure, he said firmly. What happened? It nearly broke us. But we'd fought our way back. We're stronger now than we were before. And I don't want to waste any more time. I want to marry you, Olivia. If you still want to marry me. Tears spilled down my cheeks as I nodded. Yes, I whispered. Yes, of course I want to marry you. Dr. Larson beamed at us. This is a big step, she said. but I think you're ready for it. Just remember, the work doesn't stop here. Marriage is a constant process of choosing each other every day. As we left the session that day, hand in hand, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. We'd been through hell, but we'd come out the other side. Our love had been tested in the harshest way possible, and it had survived. The next few months were a whirlwind of activity. Nathan moved back in, and we started planning our wedding, a smaller, more intimate affair than what we'd originally planned. We decided to start fresh, choosing a new venue and new outfits, leaving behind the painful memories associated with our first attempt. There were still moments of doubt, times when the shadow of what I'd done would fall over us, but we'd face them together, talking through our fears and insecurities instead of letting them fester. The day of our wedding dawned bright and clear, a perfect summer day. As I stood in front of the mirror in my new dress, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. Not because I was unsure about marrying Nathan. I'd never been more certain of anything in my life. But because I knew that this day represented more than just a wedding. It was a new beginning for us, a chance to start our life together with honesty, trust, and a deeper understanding of each other. Mia appeared in the doorway, looking beautiful in her bridesmaid dress. "You ready?" she asked with a smile. I took a deep breath, smoothing down my dress. "I'm ready," I said, and I meant it with every fiber of my being. As I walked down the aisle towards Nathan, I saw all the love and forgiveness in his eyes that I'd feared I'd lost forever. When we exchanged our vows, promising to love and cherish each other through good times and bad, I felt the weight of everything we'd been through in every word. "I love you," Nathan whispered as he slipped the ring onto my finger. "All of you, the good and the bad, the mistakes and the triumphs. I choose you, Olivia, today and every day." Tears blurred my vision as I repeated the words back to him, meaning them more than I ever had before. As we sealed our vows with a kiss, the small gathering of our closest friends and family erupted into cheers. At the reception, as Nathan and I swayed together during our first dance, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought us to this moment. The pain, the heartache, the long nights of soul-searching and difficult conversations. But also the love, the forgiveness, the strength we found in each other. "What are you thinking about?" Nathan murmured, his lips close to my ear. I smiled up at him, feeling a rush of love and gratitude. Just, how lucky I am. How grateful I am that you gave us another chance. That we fought for this. Nathan's arms tightened around me. "I'm grateful too," he said softly. "For you, for us, for everything we've been through. It wasn't easy, but I think it made us stronger. Made me love you even more, if that's possible."